and thank you for coming on the MMA
Hello.
India Show.
Oh, awesome, man. Thank you guys for having me.
All right, perfect. So everything is set up. So, Parvin, Masvidal just told me that he was going to go out to have some lunch right now. So I'm assuming, this is not a bad time to, go ahead with the interview.
Yes.
No, yeah, perfect time.
All right. So,
Great.
Parvin, do you want to start things off?
Yeah. I had, I wanted to start it off. You've been tweeting a lot lately, Jorge, and of course we've been following you. And you recently tweeted, something about Jake Ellenberger's win, that he threw a desperation kick that landed on a dude with zero defense walking forward. Easy money, homie. Did you want to just expand on that a bit?
I think there's different types of fighters in this world, and Jake is more of a fighter that fights scared, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's been a lot of good fighters that fight scared. He's one of them, he fights scared, he fights nervous, that's why he throws everything into each shot, and that's why he gets tired so fast, because he's nervous. He doesn't know the outcome of the fight. He's not somebody that's confident in his abilities, I know that even though I'm not the most skilled, the fastest, or the strongest, I'm confident in what I've been through and my heart that I'm going to win these fights. He's not. He's more just like, if I can't hit you with a right hand, and if I don't hurt you with my right hand, he already starts to break mentally, fade, and he starts to doubt himself, So he's, I would classify him as a scared fighter.
If I may, talking about Jake again. So you have a really good ground game, while Jake is an excellent wrestler as well. So what do you think about the matchup itself?
I don't, in MMA, I think anybody could score a takedown. If I hurt him and I go for a big punch, boom, he gets under my legs, he picks me up in the air, and he puts me down.
Right.
But one thing that will not happen is he will not hold me down under no circumstances. No matter how much energy he puts into holding me down, we both know, especially he knows, he won't hold a guy of my caliber ever down on the ground. It's not going to happen.
All right, fantastic.
Now, you've had a pretty good run lately. We saw your win over Ross Pearson, and it was really solid. Jake, on the other hand, he's just had a win over Matt Brown, but before that, he had quite a few losses. Now, you're coming into the fight, of course, with a lot of confidence. But Jake, just kept his spot in the UFC by the skin of his teeth, literally. And he has a lot more to lose, maybe. Do you factor that in while working out a strategy that he is going to be a little desperate, coming in?
For sure. I think he's going to gamble more. Like he'll go for big shots that could maybe like a spinning back fist, or he'll go for something explosive that could end the fight. I'm always calculating that with everybody I fight, but especially with a guy like Jake. Like I said, not to keep poking at him, but since I know he fights scared, I know he's willing to try anything at least once. So all of that is factored into our game plan. At the end of the day, it's going to come down to who wants it more and who's in better shape. And both of those categories, I know I excel in.
Great. Now, do you want to tell us anything else about how you're approaching the fight? Of course, we know you can't say too much about the strategy, but can you say, is there anything you can say about how you're approaching it?
Oh, well, I take my diet real seriously, so I've been lucky that there's a really good Indian spot by my house. And I know it's good because the first time I went there was a wedding, and it was like 30 Indians, and I was like, whoa, this place outside would be good, because Indian people wouldn't come eat Indian food if it's not good. And every time I go, there's a lot of Indian people, so I know it's a good place. So I eat my chicken tikka marsala, my naan with cheese. I'm ready to go, man. The diet is good. I'm ready to kill somebody, man.
Also, Masvidal, you just talked about your diet. So I was interested about one stat of yours where it was said that you normally walk around at 185, and when you're training, your training weight is around 175, 173. So can you just confirm that? Can you tell us what your training weight is, and if it is indeed about 175 or 173? It is a very easy cut for you. Must be a very easy cut for you to go down to welterweight.
Yeah, to welterweight. Now, for me to get down to when I used to compete at 155, my walk-around weight was 185. I would diet down in training. This is training and running and a strict diet to get down to 173 and 174 and around there. My body fat was at 5%. From there, I still had to drink all that water to get to 55. So I said, I'm not going to do this no more. I had done that weight cut for 12 years. I started at 18 years old as a professional at 155 pounds. I had just hit the end of the road already as far as cutting weight went for 155. But for 170, it's pretty easy for me because, like I said, I walk around between 185 and 189 because I lift. Something I didn't do back then in the past is I didn't get to lift weights because I was already too big for the weight class. But now I get to lift a lot of weight. So I've gained size. I walk around between 185 and 189. I do a nice diet, training twice a day. I get down to about 181, 179. And that's literally like 2 workouts, and I'm on weight, so it's really easy for me to get to 170.
Right, and when you were, fighting at lightweight, you just said, you cut down to 175, and then it's 20 pounds that you have to lose. So do you do that over a stretch of 1 week, like some of the fighters do, or, do you do that in a period of 2 to 3 days? Like, for example, you had your Johnny Hendricks and Kevin Gastelum, for example, who had those tremendous weight cuts in just a matter of a couple of days. So how do you spread that across?
No, I do it nothing like those guys. Those guys, as you can tell, just their physical shape. I don't know if they just have really, really bad genetics or they just have a really bad work ethic. You can't get your 20 pounds, 30 pounds of water to go. My workout is if I'm making weight on Friday morning, I'll wake up and I lose my 6-7 pounds, and that's it. I hold that weight for like 2 hours. I try to be as dehydrated as little bit as possible. I don't want to be going to sleep dehydrated because then you never get sleep, You have cramps, you feel like crap, So I go to sleep more or less 6 pounds over. I wake up, I'm not exaggerating, in about an hour and a half, the 6 pounds are gone easy because I've been drinking a lot of water. I've been eating clean. There's no sodium in my system, so the water comes off me real fast. The guys that are sucking out water for 3-4 days, it's not the best thing to do,
Right.
Now, Jorge, when you get on a fight card, you immediately start training. And the second part of that question is it frustrating to be, when you've had a couple of times where the fights have fallen through, and does that affect the training then? Does it go on and off? Is that a frustrating part of the business and also, the training? Because as soon as you get a fight announced, you must get into, your camp and your training. So how does that work out?
It's one of the worst parts that I've had in my career. I don't think I know for a fact that no other fighter has had more ranked fighters pull out for one reason or another than me. I've had 4 bout agreements that I signed and my opponent signed. They were all top 10 guys. For one reason or another, something happened that I didn't get to fight those guys. So it's very like, oh man, I'm fighting number 5 in the world. Right now, I was supposed to be fighting number 5 in the world November 5th in Kevin Gastelum. They ended up pulling him to give him the Cowboy. And, it's heartbreaking. It's like, man, but that's my fight. I signed, he signed. Why is this happening? That's happened with Ben Henderson. That's happened with Bobby Green. So it takes a lot away from you. You want to fight the best in the world, and that's why I got into it. I didn't get into fighting because I wanted to be on TV or things like that. I got into it because I wanted to test myself. I wanted to fight the best in the world. If they said, no, so-and-so is the best in the world, and he's from wherever he's from, I want to fight him, I don't want to fight a guy that's not good or that's up and coming. I've been doing this sport for a while, and I've beaten a lot of ex-world champions, a lot of currently ranked guys. I've submitted them, beat them up, so it's only right that they let me fight the top in the game,
Right. Now, since you brought the Kelvin situation up, when were you notified about the change in the fight, and what was the initial reaction to that? What was the reason that was given to you by the UFC management?
My initial reaction was, I'm not going to say it on there because I went a little crazy on my managers and the people around me inside were like, what the F is going on, man? I went a little crazy, man. I thought it was a joke. The first thing, actually, that was pretty cool because I thought they were joking with me. I said, that's a good joke. And he goes, no, I'm dead serious. And I kept on with, no, I think you're joking. And then after like 10 minutes, I was like, you're really serious? And then I went crazy. And they told me basically that Cowboy needed an opponent for New York. and this and that. I said, why wouldn't it take me to fight him? I'm going to put on a better fight. And they said, man, they just picked Calvin. There's nothing we can do. So I went crazy, man, you know. And I think everybody would have rather seen me and Cowboy fight than Kevin and Cowboy not fight, you know, because they didn't even fight, you know. So I think everybody would have much rather seen a fight than this guy miss weight by 10 pounds and be just out of this world and professional, you know, on one of the biggest cards of the sport, you know. How do you do that? I don't know, because as a fighter, I've never missed weight in 40-plus fights. And, man, I used to cut way more weight than Kevin has ever cut in his life. And to miss by 10 pounds, that kid knew a month ago, 6 weeks ago, I'm not going to make weight. And you know what? I'm not even going to try. He was eating the Burger King that he wanted to a night, eating whatever it was that he wanted to eat. He was eating. He didn't sacrifice himself. He didn't put himself in those tough spots to go running in the middle of the night, to have a strict, disciplined diet. He didn't do that. And that, to me, is a sign of a coward. You know, you don't do that. You know, you got to do right by the sport. You signed to fight a man at a certain weight. Uphold your end of the bargain. Right,
but in hindsight, did you, you know, after knowing about the missed weight, did you think maybe, you know, the bout was scrapped, and maybe that was for a good thing, you know, because if, for example, Kelvin had missed weight during your fight, then the bout would have been cancelled anyways, because 10-pound of difference, you know, catch weight would not be possible at that point.
No. And our fight was supposed to be November 5th, and he missed weight. His fight was November 12th, and he missed weight. So if he missed 10 pounds on his, he probably would have missed by like 15, 20 when he was supposed to fight me, you know. So it's one of those weird things. I just wish it would have like said, you know what, let's give Masvidal this fight. Cowboys are wanting to fight him, he said. Supposedly Cowboy was willing to fight me. I was ready to fight, you know. They should have made it happen, you know. And I would have showed up on weight. I mean, I found out on Friday he didn't make weight. I was ready to go to New York Friday, cut the 13 pounds, and fight Saturday. I was ready. I got on the plane. I was ready to go, you know. If they didn't give it to me, it sucks. So,
now coming to you calling out Cowboy for UFC 205, that didn't work out. But you have called him out again for your next fight after Jake, and his next fight, of course, after Matt Brown. But you also have said that you will either take the winner of Cowboy Cerrone, Matt Brown, or Neil Magny versus Johnny Hendricks. Now, how do you see these two fights going? And given a preference, who would you really want to fight? You know, since the win over Cowboy would actually get you closer to the title, you know, than the winner of Neil Magny or Johnny Hendricks.
Man, I would really want to fight either Cowboy or Magny. But the thing about Magny, I feel like a bully, you know, like, you don't hit women. You don't do that, you know. And if somebody doesn't want to fight me, I feel like a bully. Like, if you really don't want to fight me and you rather go fight somebody else, then I'm not going to force you into fighting me, because then I feel like a bully. But this is a sport about men that want to fight each other, and I'm not going to fight somebody like that that's defeated mentally. Magny, he won't get in the ring with me with no amount of money, so I'm not going to force that issue. Cowboy says he'll fight me. It's been presented to him. They offered me on the fight and said he chose Matt Brown. I don't know why, but whatever. I hope that he wins this fight so I could kick his ass. Not because I dislike him on a personal level, but because he took Kevin Gastelum from me, and it really got under my skin. So if I get a chance to dislocate Cowboy's jaw, you better believe it's going to happen.
We believe you. We believe you. Now, getting into your past a bit, can you tell us a little about how you got into the martial arts? And, you know, and into street fighting, since, you know, that is where you started, you know, your fighting career, so to speak, with Kimbo Slice?
Yeah, well, long before Kimbo Slice, I was fighting. I came from a very humble beginning. So, I mean, I didn't really like sports like football or basketball, you know. The first time I ever got into altercation as a kid, I could remember it. And, that feeling, that those butterflies in your stomach, you getting punched, you punching them back, I loved it. I was like, wow, this is awesome. And right around that time is when I started discovering boxing. I was like 5, 6 years old. My uncles and older cousins of mine would watch boxing, and I was like, wow, this is the greatest thing ever. And then shortly after, I saw Olympic wrestling, and I fell in love with that. And I was like, man, those are like my favorite sports growing up as a kid. So it was just a natural thing for me to progress from how I grew up, where it was very common to fight. So the sports that I liked, it was going to happen. It was destiny, you know?
Right, and I also wanted to ask you, how was this transition? Because when you say fighting, those Kimbo Slice street fighting, background from that to wrestling, submission grappling. How was this transition for you?
Oh, I had to do a huge transition. I came from fighting in the street, and I would fight for money to put food on my table. So it wasn't a professional. I didn't know how to do certain things. I didn't know how to wrestle. I didn't know how to defend armbars and stuff. So as I got more involved in the sport, I've always had the mindset that I don't care how many times I get beat up or how uncomfortable I am. I'm going to force myself into the most uncomfortable spots. So I would find the best jiu-jitsu school around me. I'd go over there and get my butt kicked. I'd find the best wrestling school around me. I'd go over there and get thrown on my head. Eventually, I'm so stubborn and just kept going that I started throwing those guys on their head. I started armbarring these guys. So it was the early years I can remember. It was tough, I had to ask myself, do I have it in me? Yes, I do, and I have to keep going. I knew the difference between me and a lot of those guys was knowledge. It wasn't my heart. It wasn't my ability. I didn't know what they knew. So I just knew that I had to put myself in the situation over and over and over and over. And thank God everything worked out.
Right.
Now we have a question from an Indian fan of yours as well, called Palash Jain. Now this has a
say one more time, you were breaking up.
We have a question for you from an Indian fan of yours called Palash Jain.
Hey, I'm sorry, man. I'm going to step outside because you were breaking up. Okay. I just got to the Indian place. Let me step outside. I think the reception here is bad. I'm sorry. Say it again.
No, Parvin is saying that we have a question for you from an Indian fan whose name is Palash Jain.
Oh, perfect. Let's do it.
Now the question is, there are, I'll just put it into perspective, there are a couple of so-called revenge matches happening nowadays where people want to get some of their losses back. Now, coming to two, there was one which we wouldn't really classify a loss because we've seen it ourselves, is the Al Quinta match, and the second being the Rustam Khabilov match. Given a chance, would you want to fight either of them again?
Oh, I would love to. I've asked for those matches several times at 170 pounds if those guys would want to do it, because I can't make 155. But if I had to pick between one of those, I would really like to break Rustam Khabilov's face. I'd rather him. I don't know why. I don't care for Al, but Rustam, I don't like him too much. I would like to bust him up.
Okay, fair enough. And now, why do you think the UFC, and we've spoken about, I think we touched upon it, and you recently did a video on it. Why do you think the UFC would push some guys and not others? You have mentioned, there's the blonde guys with the blue eyes get pushed. But one could also say that like a Kevin Gastelum gets a bigger push than he actually deserves as well. So what's your take on that?
Well, I feel like this. I'm a minority, but of the minorities, I am a minority. So it's Kevin is a minority, but he has Mexico, which is a huge market compared to the market where I come from. I'm a minority of even lesser. The people that support MMA from my countries, from Peru and Cuba, it's not big. Cuba, for starters, is a communist country. They don't even count them. In Peru, it's not big there yet, but they have an Ultimate Fighter win, and it's going to start to pick up. So I think that's one of the reasons. I think if I was blonde-haired, blue-eyed American, it'd be different. I would have been a world champion already, or I would have been fighting for world championships. It's a little different, I think, when you don't quite fit the mold,
Yeah.
Right, and also, you've been in the company when this transition, the change of guard happened from the Furt Eaters to, now the WME IMG people. So one thing that is strikingly different under the new regime is the fact that these, the WME IMG people are more interested with money fights, so to say. So what has been this transition like for a fighter, from a fighter's perspective? How has this transition been from the Furt Eaters to now the WME IMG?
Definitely, I think we're starting to generate more exposure because we do have more ties to Hollywood and being able to get guys more exposure, movie rules, things like that. But so far I haven't noticed too much of it yet. I haven't nothing bad that I could say as of right now. So far, I like it. I just want to be able to get the biggest fights possible. You know, I just want to fight. I just want to work. I'm not asking to give it to me. I'm just asking, put me in position. If God willing, my hand gets raised on December 3rd, let me fight the toughest guy out there possible. You know, if it be Cowboy, if it be Johnny Hendricks, whoever it is, just give me the chance to fight these guys. You know, I fought Ben Henderson on 10 days' notice on a 5-round fight. You know, I was getting ready to do a 3-round fight. All of a sudden, it's a 5-round fight while he was getting ready for a 5-round fight. I lost a split decision to him in Korea. He's Korean, you know.
Yes.
Like those type of things. Like, yeah, I might have lost, but if you add it up, if you do the math, it's like, man, I don't think this guy lost. You know, I think this guy actually might be really good because he was training for 3 rounds. He all of a sudden fought 5 rounds, and he lost a split decision in South Korea. I mean, you know, sometimes they overlook some of my accomplishments, but I'm still here, man. I'm not going nowhere. Huh?
Now, for my last question, because I know you got to go eat, and we don't want to keep you from your lunch for too long.
No worries.
Do you ever feel like, going back to boxing, professional boxing, or, flirting with it, a fight here or there? Does that ever cross your mind?
Oh, I love boxing. I have a lot of high-level friends that are in boxing. When I mean by high-level, like either they were a world champion amateur and now they're in the pros, or they're Olympic medalists from Cuba. So I get in the ring and I play with them, and I go to other boxing gyms and I'll spar hard with just guys that are 15-0, 20-0, and sometimes I'm surprising myself how good I can still do against these guys. So I've been out of the boxing for a long time. There's always something that's in my mind, but MMA is my first love. You know, I would love to do boxing if it came about, if the right money came around and the UFC gave me permission to do it, because I love it. It was boxing and wrestling are my first love. You know, probably boxing a little bit before wrestling, but it's my first love was boxing.
Akhilesh, anything else from your side?
Just one thing. So, you already talked about your fight with Ellenberger, but what are your predictions? Do you have anything that going into the fight? You have something that you want to say to the fans? What is a prediction that you have for the fight?
Yeah, I know it's gonna get the temperature's gonna rise in the fight at one point. It might start slow because I'm a defensive fighter. But when the temperature picks up, you're going to watch Jake break. You're going to watch him melt. He doesn't handle well when the temperature goes up and the rhythm is going and the heart is pumping and the shots are coming at you. He doesn't handle that well. I live in that territory where he's uncomfortable. That's where I grew up. That's where I made my name in the uncomfortable situations. So my fans know that as long as I keep my chin down and my hands up, I'm going to put this guy away.
All right, outstanding. So we'll again, catch up with you after your fight, and we wish you all the very best.
Could you
thank
give
you.
a last
Thank you guys for having me on.
Could you give a message to your Indian fans?
Oh, I got plenty of messages from my Indian fans. I met a couple of Indian fans actually when I fought in California. There's been mounds of them that I didn't even know fighting was popular in India. They'll come up to me and they're getting pictures and autographs, and they're telling me about fights that I did in Strikeforce and in Bellator, and I'm like, man, that's crazy that you guys know all this stuff. A lot of American guys don't even know this stuff, and these are like people from India, Yeah. And I gotta say, man, one of my favorite. I've been all over the world fighting. I've been fighting pro since 18. One of my favorite foods in the whole world is Indian food, real Indian food.
Right.
Right. So, have you ever thought of coming down to India? Because this is something that a lot of fighters have said that they would want to do. Someone like for example, Josh Barnett, who is one of the biggest fans of catch wrestling in India, the Kushti wrestling in India, has told me time and again that he wants to come down to India just to spend some time here. So, what are your thoughts about flying down to India, possibly for a seminar in the near future?
Oh, 1,000%. Any gym owners hearing this right now, they want to get me out there for a seminar, and we'll work something out that'll make it super affordable. Contact me or my manager. Anybody hearing this interview, I would love to go to India. I've been wanting to go to India. My wife's been wanting to go there too. So I would love to experience that culture. That man, just to eat food from India would be so worth it for me. Just to go, I would do the 20-hour flight all day just to eat.
Yeah. All right, we will put that message out there for you.
Oh, thank you guys. I appreciate that.
And Thank you so much, Jorge. It was such a pleasure talking to you, and we wish you all the best for the fight against Jake Ellenberger, and we're going to be praying and rooting for you.
And I will talk to you
Thank
again
you, my
soon.
brothers, man. Thank you, my brothers. God bless all of you, man.
Take care.
Thank
Have a
you.
good day.
Thank you, guys. You guys have a good night.
You too.
Thank you. Thank you.